Good morning, everyone.
Morning, ma'am.
Okay. So we left at skeletal system, right? Last class. Skeletal system. So we talked about the. Please let me know, okay, if my voice is not clear.
Yes, ma'am.
So skeletal system we talked about like the bones and the cartilages, right? And there are 206 bones in our body, and there are a few cartilages. Okay, and where are these cartilages found? Bones, all of you know, all over the body bones are found, right? So cartilages, they are found in the ears, then nose, and then many other parts also. Also the joints, okay, joint of the knee joint, like arm, and everywhere joints. The joints, the bones, they are covered. Like the bones in the joints, they are covered by cartilages. Okay, now comes the division of the skeletal system. Okay, so the skeletal system is divided into axial and appendicular. You can see in the second paragraph. Axial skeleton and appendicular, this one. So, axial skeleton and appendicular skeleton. So, these are the two types of skeletal system. Okay, now the axial skeleton and appendicular skeleton. So, the axial skeleton will contain of this skull, vertebral column. Skull means, all of you know, the head region, right? The skull. Vertebral column is the backbone kind of thing. Then the sternum, ribs, rib cage, ribs, no? So all those are included in the axial skeleton. And the appendicular skeleton, the bones of the limbs. Limbs means hands and legs. Okay, hands and legs, the bones of in the hands, the bones in the legs, and the girdles. Girdles means the bones present in your hip region. Okay, in your hip region, the bones that are present, those are known as girdles. One is pelvic girdle, one is pectoral girdle. I don't know if you have heard or not, but girdles, it means pelvic girdle, there is a pelvic girdle, there is a pectoral girdle. Okay, two types of girdles are there. So all those girdles that are present in the what to say, in the hip region. Okay, so the girdles and the bones of the limbs means hands and legs. So those bones comprise of the appendicular skeleton, and the axial skeleton, it comprises of skull, vertebral column, sternum, and ribs. So you need to remember these things. Okay, which bones comes under axial skeleton, which bones comes under appendicular skeleton, that you need to remember. All right, so the skeletal system, it is comprised of it is divisible into two parts. One is axial, one is appendicular. Now coming back to axial skeleton, in a total it has 80 bones. Okay, in total axial skeleton has 80 bones. All right, there are we talked about, like, in the whole body there are 206 bones, right? There are 206 bones, and out of those 206 bones, 80 bones are from the axial skeleton. Okay, the rest are appendicular skeleton. Just remember that. So the axial skeleton, what comprises of axial skeleton? There are skulls, right? Skull, then vertebral column, then sternum was there, right? So in the skull, there are cranial. There are two types of bones in the skull also, cranial and facial. What is cranial? Cranial means the bones of the head, and facial means the bones of the face region. Face region, like the nose. There is a bone in the nose also. Then eye socket, right? There are bones in the mouth region also. So all those bones are called facial bones, and the bones that are in the head region, that is known as the cranial bones. So don't what to say, confuse that the skull is only skull comprised of only the head region. Skull means the entire portion, head, face, and everything. Okay, the bones of the head and face, and means the upper part of the body, above the neck. The whole portion above the neck is the skull. All right. So it comprises of two sets of bones. One is the cranial, one is facial. Okay. So the skull will have a total of 22 bones. So out of these 80 bones, 22 bones the skull has. Alright, and the cranials are 8 and the rest, how much will be 14? 14 will be facial. Cranials are 8 and 14 is facial. So 8 plus 14 will be 8 plus 14. Okay, it will be 22. Okay, so this is all about. Then comes the vertebral column. Vertebral column, there are 12 serially like units of vertebrae. If you can like touch your backbone, you can see it. There are like many small units. Okay, if you are skinny, you can touch your backbone and then see there are small units. Those are arranged. That forms the vertebral column. Those are also one bones. One bone. Okay, and there are 12 pairs of ribs that we have already discussed while discussing the breathing system, right? 12 pairs means 12 on each side. It's like left side there will be 12, right side there will be 12. So all this, then the sternum, it's a single bone. Okay, so all this sternum, that vertebral column, then like all the bones of the skull, all this comprise of the axial skeleton. Okay, there will be total of 80 bones if you count like all these. It will be 80 bones. And then there are bones of the limbs and the pectoral girdle, like pelvic and pectoral. There are two. So all this, it will be comprised of like the appendicular skeleton. And limbs, there are 30 bones in each limb. Okay, 30. Okay, this is, you just need to remember all the figures and stuff. Okay, nothing much to explain in this part. Okay, just remember where the appendicular, what consists of the appendicular skeleton, what consists of the axial skeleton. Okay, so skeletal system is divided into two parts, axial and appendicular. Axial skeleton, it comprises of skull, vertebral column and all this, and appendicular, it comprises of the limbs, bones of the limbs and pectoral girdle. So, and how many bones are there? Like the cranial, how many bones are there? And all total axial skeleton, how many bones are there? Those figures, just remember it. Okay, now we will talk about the joints. Okay, there are different types of joints. So knee joint is a different type of joint. The joint that is like in the head region, that is also a different type of joint. Then your wrist, that is also a different type of joint. So in our body we have many joints, right? And those, all the joints, they are different types of joints. Okay, they fall into different categories. Now what are joints? All of you know, joints are the like a point of contact of like two bones, they will come and join, and that is the joint, right? This is the definition for joint. You have to memorize this. Okay, now coming to types of joints. So there are three types of joints. Okay, there are three types of joints. One is fibrous joint, one is cartilaginous joint, one is synovial joint. Okay, now this classification is made like most important difference between these type of joints is the movement, whether this joint allow movement or not. Okay, so like this maybe fibrous joint, they do not allow any movement. Okay, cartilaginous joint, they will allow some amount of movement, and synovial joints, they will allow full movement. So like that. Okay, so the main most important difference is that whether this type of joints, they allow movement or not. So if they allow movement, they are placed in another category. If they do not allow movement, then they are placed in some other category. And if they allow some amount of movement but not so much, then also they are placed in some other category. So that is there. Then there are also other differences. Okay, so first is the fibrous joint. So fibrous joint, they do not allow any movement, and they are generally found in the, do not allow any movement means you have no control over the joint. Okay, you cannot move the joint according to your own means wheel. Okay, so generally the bones of the skull. Okay, bones of the skull. See, there are, it's not like we have talked about the bones of the skull, right? There are many bones in the skull. Here, this one, cranial and facial, right? Cranial and facial, total of 22 bones. So there are many bones of in the skull, but can you move any of the joint? Like there are, since there are many bones, the bones need to be connected with one another, right? So there are joints in between all the bones. So there are joints in between all the bones. But can you like move those joints? No, you cannot move those, right? If
Excuse
there
me,
are,
ma'am.
yes.
Jaws are part of skull, ma'am. They
Mm-hmm.
move.
Yes.
Jaws,
Yes, jaws are,
jaws can
yes.
move.
Yes, yes, jaws can move. Jaws can move. Jaws can move. They like they are not fibrous joints. Since the jaws can move, they are not fibrous joints. But jo- uh, there are joints in the, I'm talking about the joints in the skull, those cannot move. I'm not talking about all the joints in the skull. Okay, there are few means most of the joints that are present in the skull, they cannot move. Okay, they do not allow any movement. But yes, of course the jaws, they can move and they form the part of the skull. Jaws, they are part of the skull. They will be what will be like cranial or facial. There will be facial bones. Facial bones forms the jaws, and there are joints in between both the jaws. Right? They allow movement, but they do not allow like they only allow a particular amount of movement. Okay, they do not allow like full movement. But I think for some animals, I forgot which animal to be properly. Okay, there are some animals which allow like full movement, and for us, for human beings, we can open our mouth for a certain extent, right? There are some animals which will like which can open their mouth for like so big. Okay, so those kind of joints also
Snake.
allow. Yes, snake. So that snake also, they have like more movement, more their joints. They have a different type of joints. Their joint in the jaw bones is not similar to ours. Okay, the yes, the jaw is a type of like is present in the skull. Skull is a part of the skull, and they allow movement. But fibrous joints, they are generally like found in the skull, the head region. Okay, not the facial part, the head region, the places where you cannot move. But since there are like 22 bones, uh, let's take out the like two jaw bones, rest other bones that are present in the skull. Maybe the front part is attached to the like back part. No, there are different bones in the skull. So they do not allow any movement. Okay, those are the type of fibrous joints. And that is the reason why when we talk about fibrous joints, we talk about the skull bones, because the bones of the skull generally they do not allow any movement, leaving the this, what to say, uh, your jaw behind. Okay, jaw bones, they can, jaw joints, they can move. Okay, yeah, yes, you can see here to like this joints, they are like fused to one another to from the cranium. Cranium means the cranial bones. Cranium means the head region, right? Okay, now comes the cartilaginous joints. So this cartilaginous joints, they allow a little bit of movement. Okay, they allow limited movements. For example, let's take the vertebral column. Vertebral column is a backbone, right? So the it allows a little bit movement, because see, when you are standing straight, you can move a little bit to the right and a little bit to the left, right? But you cannot move entirely back, or you cannot move like 180 degree or 360 degrees, right? But you can move a little bit, 60 degree, maybe a little bit you can move to one side. Doing some exercises also, you need to move your backbone, right? So those type of bones are cartilaginous joints. They are cartilaginous joints. They do not allow much movement, but they allow a little bit of movement. Okay, just give me a second. Okay. So this type of joint, they allow some movement, but not so much of movement. For example, the vertebral column, also in the neck region, you can see, you can move your neck a little bit to the both sides. But I don't know if you know or not, the owl, in an owl can move his her head, its head, like the 360-degree. Okay, it can move its head all around. Okay, so it has a different type of joint. But for us, we cannot move our head like 360 degrees or even 180 degrees, right? We can move our head a little bit, maybe uh maybe it's like 90, more than 90, but a little bit like 100, maybe 110. But we cannot move our head at like 180 degrees or like more than that, right? So that allow a little bit of movement, but not so much of movement. Then comes the synovial joint. So cartilaginous joint, a type of joint which uh, like which do not allow so much of movement, but they allow some limited movements. Okay, for your daily activities, they allow some movement, but they do not allow so much of movement. Then comes the synovial joints. Now, jaw bones that we talked about, right? That Kali asked about the jaw, the joint that is present in the jaw. So that is also a type of synovial joint. Okay, the jaw that we use like for chewing purpose, the jaw that is a facial bones. So that joint is a type of synovial joint. And this type of joint, they allow some movement, like considerable movement they allow, more than, at least more than the fibrous joint and the cartilaginous. Fibrous joint, they do not allow any movement, but the synovial joints, they allow movement more than the cartilaginous joint. Okay, they allow like considerable amount of movement they allow. But one more most important what to say, a feature about the synovial joint is that let's take the knee as an example. Okay, knee joint is a type of synovial joint. So what happens in the knee region? I don't know if you have heard on like people, they when they like they some people they get aches in their knee. Okay, so what happens? There is a cavity in the knee. Okay, there is a cavity in the knee, like between the joints. There is a cavity in the knee, and that cavity is filled with fluid. Fluid means liquid kind of thing. So the in the synovial joint, let's take the knee as an example. So in the knee region, there is a fluid filled cavity. Cavity means a space filled with cavity means space, and fluid filled cavity means space filled with liquid. So when the amount of liquid it increases, or the fluid it increases, it tends to give aches. And also when the fluid amount will decrease, then also it will give aches. Okay, some people they get like lots of knee like problems. Okay, so those people they have sometimes what happens, they like their knee joint, it's filled with fluid and they have to inject out the fluid. Doctor what they does, they will put an injection and they will withdraw the fluid from the cavity. Means the fluid amount of fluid it rises, it becomes more. Okay, so most important thing about the synovial joint is that synovial joint, in between the synovial joint there is a fluid filled cavity. Okay, that is known as synovial cavity. Since it is a synovial joint, it is known as synovial cavity. So there is a fluid filled synovial cavity, and it helps the two bones to move, and that is the reason why they can move so much. Okay, since they are not like tightly attached to one another, but they have a cavity in between them, and it is filled with fluid, liquid, so it can move like considerable amount. Okay, example is knee joint and jaw joints in the jaw. They also, that is also a part of a type of what to say, the synovial joint. Okay, so these are the types of joints. The thing to remember is that the joint which do not allow any type, sometimes it might be asked like what type of joint do not allow any type of movement, then it is fibrous joint. Okay, then the joints in the cranium region. What are the joints that are present in the cranium region? That is fibrous joint. Then it might be asked what type of joints allow limited movement. That is cartilaginous joints. Or it might be asked to write about the cartilaginous joint and examples. Okay, then there is synovial joint, which allow considerable movement, and then it has a fluid filled synovial cavity. Example is knee joint, jaw joint, and any other like joints of the hands also. Okay, this arm region. Okay, so these are the three types of joints. So we are talking about joints here because joints also allow movement. So since this chapter is all about movement and locomotion, right? So these joints, they allow movement. Without the joints, you won't be able to walk and do your necessary things. Okay, now comes the disorders of the uh, muscular system and skeletal system. Okay, disorders associated with the muscles and the skeleton. First is there are like how many? Six diseases. Okay, you have to in almost all the chapters like while studying about respiratory system, also expiratory system, all the chapters, I guess we have learned about diseases at the end of the chapter, diseases associated with that particular system. Okay, now here the diseases are Myasthenia gravis, that is I will discuss later. Okay, Myasthenia gravis is there, then there is muscular dystrophy, tetany, arthritis, osteoporosis. Osteoporosis I have explained so many times what is osteoporosis. And then there is gout. Okay, GOAT, there is a last one. Next page. So Myasthenia gravis, it is an autoimmune disorder. What is autoimmune disorder? What is autoimmune disorder? Hmm? So autoimmune disorder, it means it is a disease which attacks the immune system. Okay, it means it do not attack the immune system. It makes the immune system attack the like healthy cells. Okay, like there is an immune system. What is immune system? For example, let's take you're having a pimple. Okay, I have explained it several times, I think, to your class only. So you're having a pimple in your skin, right? It is not essential that you apply medicine to it. Or let's take you're getting a cut in your hand, like your minor cut. Okay, I'm not talking about like those large ones. So minor cut or like a pimple in your hand or face or wherever. So you don't necessarily have to apply medicine. You can apply medicine to speed up the entire healing process, but it is not required to like apply medicine. So an example you can take of the animals, right? The animals, they do not apply, they apply medicine? Do they go to the like medical store and buy stuff and just apply when they get hurt? No, but they do heal, right? That is what our immune system does. For example, there is a pimple. So what why do we get a pimple? Maybe some impurities are there in our blood or skin or wherever, right? So that needs to get out of the body. So that we get the pimple, and then the stuff, it like breaks our skin and it comes out. Okay. So when you get a pimple, first it will like uh, swell, and then the surrounding like region, the surrounding portion of the pimple, it will become red, and when we touch it will get warm. Okay, then at certain point it will break, and then pus will come out. So that entire process, that is what what our immune system is doing. So what our immune system does is that whenever there is an impurity in our body or some harmful things in our body, maybe a virus or maybe anything, so whenever that thing is in our body, let's take in the case of pimple, then there is an impurity in our body. So immune system, it will what to say, identify, or it will like see what thing is happening, and it will take action against it. Okay, so when there is an impurity in our body, immune system will know that we have to like expel this impurity from our body, and then it will like pimple will come. And why that swelling and redness is there? So that the infection, it does not spread to the other parts. Okay, and warm thing, that helps us relieve from the pain. That's why is it becomes warm. Okay, so you might have experienced, like when you get a cut in the cold days or in the morning and night, it like aches a lot, pains a lot. But when you are in the like sun, or you are in the like more temperature region, you will not get that much of pain. But when it is cold, you like tend to get more aches. Okay, so that warming up of the region, that is also due to, that is also the thing that is done by the immune system. Okay, so even if you don't apply any medicine or anything, the immune system will heal the entire thing. It will take time, but it will heal it. Okay, so that is the function of our immune system. Okay, but this myasthenia gravis, what happens when you are suffering from myasthenia gravis? It like uh, it messes up with the immune system. Okay, it messes the immune system, and what will the immune system do? The immune system will go and attack the healthy cells. The function of the immune system is not to attack the healthy cells, right, but to attack the harmful cells or harmful things, whatever it's getting inside our body. But in this disease, the immune system will go and like attack the healthy cells. That type of disease is known as autoimmune disorder. Okay, autoimmune disorder means it is a disease in which the immune system will go and attack the healthy cells. Okay, in this case, healthy cells means it will attack the, it will affect the neuromuscular junction. Okay, junction means joints, you can say. Okay, and what is the effects of this disease? This disease will result in fatigue. Fatigue means tiredness, and you will like weakness and tiredness. Okay, so you'll suffer from fatigue, weakening, and paralysis. Okay, you will suffer from paralysis. So this is a type of disease associated with the muscles and the skeleton. Then there is muscular dystrophy. Okay, this is generally a genetic disorder. What is a genetic disorder? Genetic disorder means it is in your genes. It might be from your like it may pass from generation to generation. Genetic disorders generally pass from one generation to the other. Okay, it is a genetic disorder, and therefore genetic things, they cannot be healed. They cannot be cured. So this is a genetic disorder, and what happens in this type of disease? The muscles, no, skeletal muscles, they will like become uh, degenerate. They will degenerate. Degenerate means they will lose its structure, and you'll when a person suffer from this disease, he will become like lean and thin, and there is no other way out. Okay, so, and mostly this type of disease is due to it is a genetic disorder. Genetic means it is associated with the genes and the chromosomes. Then there is tetany. So tetany is spasms. Do you know spasms? Sometimes you like all the people, they might have got spasm in any like stage of life. Okay, mostly in the like what to say, thigh region or like leg region. Okay, you suddenly you like the muscles in that particular area, it contracts, and then you get a pain. Like mostly when like you go to for a long walk, or like sometimes even while sitting also, you get that spasm. Okay, spasm is while contractions, that is contraction in the muscle, and then you'll get pain. Okay, so when people suffer from tetany, the spasms or the contraction, it will become rapid. Rapid means more frequent. Okay, you'll get frequent contractions, and like you'll get those wild pains. Okay, wild aches all around your body. So what that is the effect of tetany. And why does it occur? It occurs because there is low calcium ion concentration. Okay, calcium ion is very essential in our body, right? For all the like bones and everything to develop, also calcium is essential. And so now this tetany, it is due to the low concentration of calcium ion in our body fluid. Okay, body fluid may be lymph, blood, and everything. Then there's arthritis. Arthritis is a very common means you might have heard of arthritis. It may be in the old people, they suffer from arthritis. That is the inflammation of the joints. What is inflammation? Inflammation is aches and swelling up. Okay, swelling, it will swell, the joints, they will swell, and then it will like become red and swell, and it will like give a lot of pain. Okay, that is arthritis. And then there is osteoporosis. Osteoporosis I have already discussed, right? Osteoporosis earlier. So osteoporosis is generally caused by decreased level of estrogen. That is why it is most common in uh, like women who undergoes menopause. Right, last class or like this year only, this semester only, I taught about osteoporosis in your class, in offline class. So when estrogen level is low, it will result in low calcium ion level, calcium level also. Okay, when estrogen level is low, it will result in like lowering calcium level, and therefore the bone they will like bone mass means the like what to say mass of the bone they will decrease. Okay, and it will become brittle, the bones will become brittle, and they will tend to break. Okay, if you like fall for uh, like it's not a huge fall. If you like fall from your, like you are sitting in a chair, you'll fall, and then, or if you slip and fall, then also you might have chances of fractures. Okay, that is osteoporosis, and generally seen in uh, older people, not in like small children, but it is also seen in small children. It is not like only seen in older people, but generally seen in older people. But for some I have seen like people, like children who have like from their birth they are having low calcium ion, and therefore like their whole body is brittle, their like bones are brittle and they cannot walk. There are cases of that also, but then this disease is generally age related, and only seen in older people. Okay, and then last one is gout. So this is a disease that is the joints they will again inflammation of joints. But here arthritis was also inflammation of joints, but in the case of gout what happens, the joints they like suffer from inflammation because there are uric acid crystals accumulation is there. Accumulation means gathering. The uric acid crystals they will come and gather in the joint region, and there that is the region why the joints will swell and will give pain. Okay, so how where this uric acid comes from? While discussing about excretory excretory products, we discuss about uric acid, right? Ammonia, urea, uric acid. So uric acid is present in our body. So uric acid it needs to be eliminated. Okay, so if it is not eliminated, it will result in accumulation of those uric acid crystals. It will form crystals. Okay, and then it will be accumulated means it will be like it will gather in some part of your body, and in this case in your joints. Okay, so when these uric acid crystals they will like gather in the joints, they will result in aches and inflammation. Okay, so that type of disease is good, and this is not this is a disease which is not cured very easily. Okay, mm. So these are the types of diseases, and this is it. This chapter is this much only. So any doubts you have, you can ask. I think next class we will not get next class because next Monday I think you have your exam. From next Monday, yeah, 24 I guess. Yes, from next Monday you'll have your exams, and Monday Tuesday I don't have a class. Wednesday also you are having an exam. So if you have any doubts you can ask, otherwise I will, or you can just go through at home, okay, a little bit about this portions, and you come up with doubts next class. All right, so this is all about this one. Okay, is the CR can give me the attendance and you can leave.
Okay, ma'am.
Mm. Thank you. Go through at home and come up with doubts if you have any.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.